Today what we're going to be looking at is which printer you should be buying. Or we're going to have a shootout, or a battle should we say, between the amazing Epson ET-8550, which I'm always amazed by every time I print on it and the quality this printer produces, and also the flagship printer, which is the P700. Now, they both have their fors and against. So we're going to go through each of those kind of pros and cons for each of the printer. Then we're going to actually do some prints because that is what counts, and have a little bit of a comparison between the two. But before we get started, as always, a little bit of housekeeping. So please, if you haven't subscribed already, please click that subscribe button below and also give us the thumbs up. And also, if you're looking for some paper, then please don't forget to use the YouTube discount code. We'll give you 15% off Fotospeed papers, which is FSYouTube15, and you use that on photospeed.com and you just enter it in your shopping basket and it'll give you 15% off Fotospeed papers. Okay, so let's dive into these printers and have a look at the pros and cons of each one. Now let's start with the ET-8550. Now, this is part of Epson's EcoTank range, which means it has refillable inks in it. This printer brings those ink costs down quite a lot, to about 20–30p a mil. So that is absolutely a massive saving on ink. Now, the downside to this printer is it only has 6 colours to it. So you are a little bit limited on colour gamut. However, as I said in reviews of this printer when I've looked at this in other videos, I've been really surprised and really impressed with the quality that comes out of this printer. Now, the current price of this printer is £679. So it's a little bit more than the P700, which is £575. Those prices are at time of making this video. They may have gone up or gone down depending on the time you're watching this video. So it is a little bit more expensive, but you do get a scanner in here as well, so which is great. So a little bit extra, but the extra £100 I think with this printer comes from because Epson probably aren't going to be making as much money on the inks in here as well. So it really does a nice job. It is a die-based machine as well. So the downside to that is possibly you won't get the archivability of the P700, and if you wanted to sell your prints as fine art prints, the general rule is that they have to be using pigment inks like the P700. But you are making a massive saving and you're still going to get prints that are going to last, say, 40–50 years. So it's been a really impressive printer, I have to say. Now, a downside to it, which I have found, we'll look a little bit more in detail when we come to the prints, is its black and white capabilities. I would say the P700 does have kind of a better black and white capability. I will talk about this in more detail when we actually start looking at the prints, because then we can actually see these differences in action. I was a little bit surprised by the ET-8550. It's not quite, it's not giving that perfectly neutral print. They look absolutely fantastic when they come off. However, when compared to the 700, there is still a bit of a cast still in there. Now, I'm going to do a separate video on actually trying to get perfect black and whites out of this printer, because I have found the black and white mode doesn't really work as well as it should be with this printer, but also using a custom profile will get you a lot closer. But in the video I'm going to be making, I'm going to look at how we can optimize that profile as well, and really kind of hone in and get a perfect black and white out of this printer, because it can do it, just takes a little bit of work. So I'm going to do a separate video on that, because probably haven't got time today to do that. So those are kind of the fors and againsts. The massive for the P700 is it's archival and it's fine art, and it's got a massive color gamut. I mean, it's got those 10 inks in here, so it's got a really big kind of color gamut, and it's going to give you those perfect black and whites. The downside to it is the ink costs. So it's probably £1 a mil more in cost. So if you think the ink, if you're printing an A3 on here, the ink probably is going to cost you 40 to 50 pence. On here, it's more like £1.50, £2 kind of pricing. So there's a massive increase. But does it actually make a lot of difference in print quality between the two? Okay, so let me get some prints printed off, and then we're going to have a compare as well and have a look at these two printers and see which is best for you. Because I don't think there is really a right or wrong kind of answer to this, which one you should buy over the other. I think the question is which one suits you better, because each printer has their own fors and against, like I said. So we'll have a look at the prints and I'll take you through what differences I'm seeing actually in the prints themselves, because that's the most important thing, how it actually prints. Okay, so let's run some prints off and then we'll have a look. So all the prints are coming off now. Now, for the paper wise and paper choice, I used our NST Bright White for the matte paper, which gave a really nice finish for our matte high white point. So because I really wanted to just look at those colours as well going on in there, and it gives absolutely fantastic black and whites as well. Also, I used our Platinum Gloss Art Fibre. So what I did was I picked 4 pictures and printed them off. 2 colour, 2 black and white, just to compare and how these two printers reacted. Now, let's start with a colour image. I've got this picture of this young lady here, loads of vibrant colours going on in here. Now, I've actually marked on the back which one's which, but I can instantly see there is a difference. I don't know if you see on camera, I'll do some close-ups as well. But there is a difference in the pink here, kind of almost looks red on this one here, and the blue is slightly saturated on this print here. Now, I just have to have a quick check which one. So this one here is the P700 and this one here is the 8550. The violet ink and such within the P700 is working a lot better, and it is giving this lovely pink in here that it is. So the 8550 just cannot produce that kind of colour because it's only got 6 inks in there. So that's one downside. A really good point for dye inks are they're more saturated, they give more vibrance to the print, which is definitely there. It just can't produce, because it's got a less inks in that ink set, it just can't produce those colours absolutely perfectly like what we'd like. But I would say the P700 is a little bit more muted, so we would have to do a little bit more work there. Okay, so let's look at the same print on the NST Bright White. And here we have it here. Okay, now I haven't even looked on the back here. So what I'm going to do is a bit of a blindfold here to see if I can pick which one is which. So I would say that this one at the back here, I'm looking at these pink areas as well. I'm kind of cheating because I suppose I know what to look for because of the print on the other one. Now, I would say, I don't know, I've changed my mind now. This one here is the 8550 and this one is the 700. Yeah, I am right. The only reason, I did look at the pink here and I was going to go for this one as the 700 because actually the pinks are very quite nice and even on this one here. But it's the blue, it's the saturation of the blue. Again, on the matte papers and the dye inks, it has given that little bit more vibrance on there as well. And also the coat is a little bit different shade in here as well. I've only just noticed that actually, that this is a bit redder. It's actually supposed to be a bit more orange. So again, the P700 is giving a little bit more colour accuracy, just because of that bigger ink set in there. But actually the colour looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'd be really happy with that print on the 8550. It looks great. Especially the blues as well, they've come out really nicely. Yeah, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'd be happy with both. The pigment inks are a little bit more muted, but we just have to add a little bit more, say, contrast or saturation or something, just to bring those up a little bit in there. So a little bit more work. Okay, so let's have a look at a black and white image. Now I've picked kind of a portrait here, and it's a bit of a difficult image to print, to be honest. It's quite low contrast. It's got a nice black in there though. Now I would say this print here on the top here, although the black is really nice and silky and lovely and you just fall into it, there's a definite green tint to it. So these have both been printed by the advanced black and white mode for Epson. Now, although this print is, when compared, I have to say the black is a little bit more muted. I think it just needs a little bit of extra in here. Now, to make this a fair test, I didn't turn on the advanced black overcoat or the carbon black in here with the P700, because I think when we put the carbon black on, this black would get a lot silkier and a lot deeper and a little bit more closer to this, to the 8550s here. But it is a perfectly neutral black and white. This is where the P700 is really just jumps ahead, is getting that neutral black and white out of the box. It does it really well and it is perfect. It is lovely and neutral. The same goes for when we're on the matte papers as well. So I'll just show you the NST Bright White of the same image. You can probably see it on the camera actually if I just, so you can probably see it on camera here that this one is lovely and neutral and this one has a cast to it. And I would say the black is better on the matte papers using that matte black ink that the 700 has got. And it actually given, it's more neutral to start with, and it has also given a really beautiful print. Now I am going to do a whole video on how to get black and white pictures and perfect black and whites out of the 8550, so watch, that is coming up soon. Let's go back to colour though. Let's start with I did a lovely picture of some food here. Now I picked this one because it's got lovely colours, it's got kind of everything in. Now I would say on this print, the 8550 has won. It has just done these lovely purples and the reds and everything. It's just really nice and saturated and the dye inks have really come to life. I would say the 700 print just needs a little bit of work. The purples here are just not quite the same and the reds are a little bit more saturated as well. But apart from that, they both look absolutely fantastic. Again, almost a draw, but I would say the 8550 has just pinched it. So let's look at that same image on the Platinum Gloss Art Fibre, and very little to kind of pick between. I would say that this one here is the 8550, this one here is the P700. Let me just see if I'm right. Yes, just because of this purple. I know what to look for now because we looked at it on the matte paper. I think it's this purple here is a lot richer. And the purple is just a little bit more saturated here. I prefer the 8550 now. So yeah, fantastic, really nice. Both fantastic in this kind of situation, really nice. Really hard to pick between the two. Okay, so let's look at our final print, which is a black and white. Now this is a bit of a different black and white. A lot of grey in here, so I've picked this picture of the Colosseum here. Now you can see it instantly that this bottom one here, when compared against the two, has a green cast in here. So again, advanced black and white mode isn't really working as well. But I have printed this with a profile as well, and it is a lot closer to the 700. It's still not perfect though. So we've had a look at the prints. Now I would say that the 8550 is doing a fantastic job in colour. It is really nice. So it falls down a little bit on colour gamut, like in the reds and pinks, as we saw in the that pink colour in those pictures there. But the blues were absolutely really vivid and lovely, and they look fantastic. And I mean, the colours look absolutely fantastic. Those dye inks are really doing their job, and they're really giving that vivid, high contrast kind of saturated print, and look absolutely fantastic. Now the P700 does win out on the black and white prints. It just giving that perfect neutral print. So I think if black and white is your thing and what you print most of it, I would say the P700 is going to be your choice. However, if you print kind of 50-50 and you want to save money on ink and with a little bit of work try and get those really neutral black and whites, then the 8550 is a really great choice. Now, for me, I think in my choice, and if it was my money and I was going to buy one of these printers, I'd probably go for the P700. And the reasons are the archivability to start with. Those 10 inks are going to be a wider colour gamut for you, and that is going to make a difference on some prints. Also the black and white capabilities, because I shoot mainly black and white and high contrast and things, so I want those neutral prints. Now, ink costs are the downside of that, with massive high ink costs to it. So I'd kind of have to weigh that up and find out which, kind of how much it would work out for. The black and white is the kind of pinching point for me. I would want a printer that gives me reliable, neutral black and white. So I think that's the P700. And that's just my personal choice because I print a lot of black and white. If you print a lot of color though, you're not going to be disappointed with the 8550. There isn't really a right or wrong for this. One printer is probably going to be better for some people, and say the other printer is going to be better for other people. So some people will go, like ink costs are important to some people, so they might go down the 8550 route and be absolutely bowled over by it because it is really good printer, don't get me wrong, it does fantastic colour prints. Where it falls down is that black and white. Also equally, if people are mainly black and white printers, the P700 is going to be the printer for them. It gives perfect black and whites. However, that comes at a cost of higher ink costs as well. But also if you're producing fine art or giclée prints, then the P700 I would say is probably the choice for you because of those pigment inks in there, and you can fully kind of classify your prints as proper giclée and fine art prints because it has that archivability of over 100, 150 years. If that is used with a fine art paper as well that has been tested like all our Fotospeed papers are. So I hope that's been useful, and as always, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Just click that subscription button down the bottom there, and also please give us a thumbs up as well, it really helps us on YouTube. Also, if you're looking for some paper to test out these printers and have a play with, you might have already got one of these printers, then please don't forget to use the voucher code FSYouTube15, and that will give you 15% off Fotospeed papers on photospeed.com. And also, please look out for that video coming in the next few weeks on how to get perfect black and white prints out of your ET-8550. I'm working hard on that one as well, so please check out that. Until next time, bye-bye.